So, Cory Booker, huh? What are you up to, man?
Through the chair, let me ask you directly.
Malcolm in the Middle's dad.
How long a question you would like? Would you? I'm happy to provide you with in the world. For one moment, we said we don't have to accept this level of childhood poverty.
Was Cory Booker always this white?
As a permanent feature of our democracy, or a permanent feature of our economy. We can do something different than
Has he handed the torch off?
Madam Chair.
Oh, he's dying. He's dying.
That job had meant helping to retrain soldiers for civilian work and coordinating veteran burials while earning a salary of $53,000 a year. Here's the note I got a little while after I was hired, Marver told Carlson, pulling a form letter from the government. You represent the best of who we are as Americans, it read. You could have chosen to do anything with your talents, but you chose public service. Kind of boilerplate, but it's nice, Carlson said.
Madam Chair.
He's going to fall
Senator
over.
Booker, will you yield for a question?
Before I yield, I just want to acknowledge my friend in the chair, and she's cracking a tight whip, so I appreciate you following the rules here. I got to read this now, and then I'm eager to get your question because you are one of the few people I knew before I got to the Senate.
That is what I wanted to talk about.
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't yield.
But
I didn't yield for a question.
I'm sorry.
You can't say anything, sir.
Oh.
The parliamentarian will jump all over you. I have the floor. So much power, it's going to my head.
Senator, will you yield for a question?
Oh, man. Known you for like 25 years. I wanted to talk about you, but you're being so insistent. I'll reward your insistence and say I yield for a question while retaining the floor.
And let me ask you, Senator Booker, I can't ask you.
Yeah, only 6 more hours until he breaks Strom Thurmond's record.
To ask you directly, how long a question you would like. Would you? I'm happy to provide you with a 5-minute question or a 5-hour question. It depends entirely on.
I actually believe that you would go a 5-hour question to try to help me power through.
What the actual wrong with him? Ian G., you're totally out of your element. You have no idea what's going on. You're walking in on a heartwarming gathering of friends, and you've irrationally become offended at something that everyone else here finds charming. This is Cory Booker, who has been holding up the Senate floor with an 18-hour speech. He's 6 hours away from breaking Strom Thurmond's record, but that would be pretty impressive.
Senator,
as you know,
we've been at this for.
My wife Susan would.
I love your wife Susan. I love you and your wife Susan, but I love your children more. Your girls are.
Well, that's why I came down here.
He's doing a 24-hour stream.
I remember.
Is this a question? Because I yield for the question while retaining the floor.
This is a question, please.
Okay, let's make it a 7-minute question.
This is a question. And I would say to the senator from New Jersey and to the presiding officer, thank you very much for being here and for enduring this. When I started here, I was in the chair all the way to the right of where you are today, Senator Booker. And I can remember the day you walked in to be sworn in, you came through those
I'm
doors
confused about why his text is bad. That's okay.
A huge
and I'm sorry.
smile on my face because I knew when you were walking through those doors,
Catch up to live.
Walking in
long wars, you talked about the money we spent there, and you talked about the first time in American history. Common sacrifice every war before that, not just the men and women who were brave enough to go out and fight. You said the first time in American history that we said the only people that are going to bear a burden are the people that are going to go. The rest of you get tax cuts. George Bush, first time ever, we went to war and we gave tax cuts from the Civil War to the Revolutionary War.
How is this legal, though? Can they just talk forever? I mean, eventually he'll die. He has to yield the floor eventually, like, because of the limits of the body. Yeah, there's the heat death of the universe. He has to keep standing.
That we're going to give extraordinary tax cuts to the overwhelmingly, disproportionately will accrue to the wealthiest amongst us. For what? If I was a mayor, I'd have to answer it. So I appreciate your question, but I also appreciate your moral indignation. I really do. I keep saying over and over again, elevating the voices of Americans on this floor, elevating the point, I hope, that we can't keep doing things like this as business as usual. These are real issues, not of right or left or right or wrong. This is a moral moment in America. And you point out a very clear choice we have when we talk about our tax policy. It should reflect our values. Thank you, sir.
Wait, does chat not know what a filibuster is? From real_libertarian at Gravel Queen. Correct. Vosh didn't tell us anything about this. You know how this makes me feel as a infotainment streamer?
Illegally shutting federal agencies, ruining long-standing
I meant like in School of
alliances,
Mount. No,
increasing
neither of
prices,
you have done
taxes
anything
on
wrong.
American
It's just a
consumers.
funny
It goes on
thing
and
to see.
on and on. Last week, the Department of Health and Human Services announced that it would fire 20,000 employees. Those cuts appear to be taking shape right now.
I think Thana's behind.
Is the senator aware
chat.
that there are reports that thousands of HHS staff have been locked out of their offices this morning?
To answer the senator's question, I've been on the floor since last night. I haven't read any news reports, but when you say that am I aware of thousands and thousands of HHS employees who've been laid off of their jobs, I'm not aware of it. I'm not surprised.
He's been up here the whole time.
Is Donald Trump going to lay more people off? The question isn't, is Donald Trump going to lay more disproportionately veterans off? The question is what are we going to do to stop it when it isn't thoughtful, reasonable cuts, when he talks about the people he's cutting as leeches?
Booker is the king of meaningless grandstanding that accomplishes nothing. Nah, I disagree. I can never get mad at a good long Senate disrupting speech. I can't. It's, you know, go for it, man. Chain it together. Who cares? Get like 47 Democrat and Democrat caucus aligned senators. Each of them take 24 hours. Hell yeah, go for it. Cycle through.
Air quality worse, which hurts people with emphysema, with asthma, with other respiratory diseases. In fact, a lot of the actuarials show more.
Not to be negative, but I'm curious, what is this stopping? Things will just continue as normal afterwards, right? Yeah, but he's delaying it. That's the point. Points to delay it. That's all. Yeah, it's a surprisingly effective way of holding things up too. I mean, the Senate, it doesn't exactly run on a tight schedule or anything. What is he delaying? The Senate. Like all the stuff the Senate was going to do today. The Senate can't do anything as long as he's up there.
Question while retaining the floor.
President Trump and the Secretary...
Can't they just leave? Yeah, but that would also be the Senate not doing anything today. You're holding up the Senate.
A host of people today. But the critical staff functions will be undercut. For example, the Low-Income Energy Assistance Program. And the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, they will focus on worker safety. LIHEAP, as you know, provides essential support to literally keep people warm in the winter and cool in the summer.
Is he allowed to pee? No, right? I don't know if he's diaper maxing or whatever, but he's just up there. He has to keep talking. Yeah, he can piss his pants, I guess. He might get like ruled out on decorum then. He might have a catheter. That'd be like quite a bit of preparation. Strom Thurmond leaned into the cloakroom and pissed into a bucket. Okay, see, that's white privilege. Because if Cory Booker leaned into the cloakroom and pissed into a bucket, they would revoke his time. That's white privilege. I hope Strom Thurmond feels ashamed at the fact that he benefited from white privilege to achieve his record.
Injuries and illnesses cost our economy about $250 billion annually, so that will double, triple, quadruple. And we're seeing all sorts of reports about the National Center for Injury Prevention and Control at CDC. They do critical work. They're under the gun. We're seeing reports that the director of the FDA Center for Tobacco Products has been...
Yeah, hold on. Thurmond decided to fight on alone, and to prepare himself, he took steam baths every day to dehydrate his body so it could absorb fluids without his having to leave the Senate chamber for the bathroom. On the day he was scheduled to start speaking at 9 p.m., he took another steam and took his staff to get ready. He was going to discuss provisions requiring trial by jury, which civil rights advocates didn't like this because Southern juries were practically all white. Thurman began speaking at 8:54 p.m. and didn't quit until 9:12 the next evening. It was the longest filibuster in the Senate history. Aides tried to avoid defeat by the toilet by setting up a bucket in the cloakroom where Thurman could pee, keeping one foot on the Senate floor while doing so. The filibuster did him no good. Southerners did not spring to his aid, and the distant cousin, Senator Herman Talmadge from Georgia, accused Thurman of grandstanding the legislation passed. So wait, he did use the bucket, right? Okay, he did use the bucket. Steam baths and a surreptitious urine bucket. Man, American politics used to be interesting. Now it's all just like fascism.
Thinking about the people affected, we throw these acronyms down here and they sound like government programs, but you meet with the people. I remember when I was starting out my political career in service in Newark, and I had this dear friend named Kim, and she...
Hold on, he cheated. Thurman also got lucky. After speaking for about 3 hours, Arizona Republican Barry Goldwater asked him to temporarily yield the floor for an insertion into the congressional record. This gave Thurman a few precious minutes to make his one and only trip to the bathroom. What the fuck? He got and of course it'd be Goldwater. He got a 3 hour bonus in there. That's bullshit.
Abundance, and we haven't figured out a way to design a system where when you invest in the well-being of people...
Wait, hold on. I am not done reading from this article. In 2001, then St. Louis alderwoman Irene Smith staged a filibuster during a city hall debate to protest a ward redistricting plan that she believed would hurt the city's black communities. Nature called, but rather than yielding the floor and ending her filibuster, Smith's aides came down and surrounded her with a sheet quilt and tablecloth while she relieved herself in a trash can. Here's a video of the incident. No thank you. Later, she was charged with violating the city's public urination prohibition, but was never convicted. Given the sheets, there wasn't any hard proof of the act. In 1977, then Texas Senator Bill Meyer staged a 43-hour filibuster over a bill he believed to be an attack on the state's open records laws. He wore an astronaut bag on the Senate floor, and when it filled up, then Lieutenant Governor Bill Hobby would arrange to take a message from the House while Meyer ran to the women's restroom, which was closest to his desk, to empty the bag. On each trip, 2 sergeants in arms came with him to ensure he never sat down. Meyer also said he ate lightly in the days preceding his filibuster. Today, Meyer is a judge on the Second Court of Appeals in Fort Worth. Holy shit. He was a Texas state senator in 1977. He's a judge today. Well, he's a judge as of the time this Mother Jones article was written, which was 12 years ago. So he's probably dead now. After his filibuster protesting the confirmation of John Brennan as CIA director, Rand Paul told Glenn Beck he'd considered fitting himself with a catheter for the speech, but decided against it, even though he'd tried them before. What? Okay.
I know you've discussed many things in the last, I don't know how many hours
I've experimented with catheters
many,
before.
many hours. And, you know, we just had a hearing this morning related to the markup of the Social Security nominee. And we're just trying to find out because a whistleblower said that he was involved in helping Doge. And we're here today trying to bring attention to the American public that people are trying to rearrange
Filibustering till the room
essential
stinks.
services, contractual obligations, things like Social Security or Medicaid or even Medicare by basically...
When you have a catheter in, you don't have to pee, right? Like, there's no physical, like, oh, I'm gonna use my pelvic muscles to pee. The urine goes from the bladder into the catheter bag or whatever. It just happens. Okay.
Hospitals who are saying they don't even think they can stay open. But this notion of Social Security, I don't know if you've heard that not only are they closing offices and cutting jobs, they're asking people to...
You're not allowed to take bathroom breaks while filibustering? No. You can't leave the Senate floor, and you can't sit down. And there's other rules, too. But no, you can't take bathroom breaks. Unless you, like, piss into a bucket in the cloakroom, apparently.
Security. So not only did they not give him his check in January, they tried to claw back checks from the previous months out of his bank account. And even though this has got national press and attention, you would think that everybody on the other side would be like, no, that's not what we're trying to do. Even though the president in the State of the Union said all these people were getting Social Security checks, when my constituent is standing in line with less and less staff.
What if a guy in a wheelchair does it? Do they still make him stand? I'm not gonna lie, given how like archaic some of the Congress rules are, I genuinely don't know what the rules for a filibuster would be for someone in a wheelchair. I actually don't know. It is genuinely possible that they would not have an answer to that, you know?
Appreciate you emphasizing the urgency
like
here,
people have to hold them up or something.
This is the dismantling of contractual agreements between the American people and the people's body that we're here to represent them and stand up for it, and people are acting like they don't care. So
I think we can break the Thurman record with modern technology. Well, the problem is that it's not about modern tech, it's about willpower. And Thurman had a lot of willpower to be racist. That guy loved racism, you know? He loved racism more than you love your mother. So it's just a matter of how badly you want it.
Cuts are not some efficient way to deliver better service, but in Social Security, they're undermining Social Security. So have you heard of these cases, the whistleblower issue and others, and do you believe that that's what we should be paying attention to, that before we get a vote on Mr. Bisignano, that we should be finding out what whistleblowers are saying and his involvement related to DOJ and making sure that Social Security checks are protected?
I thank you for the question, my friend and my chairwoman. I did talk about this, but it is so worth repeating. At some point in the night, we covered Social Security, and we read story after story.
But Booker isn't really preventing any actual bills from passing, is he? It's the Senate. The Senate follows a schedule. If, like, every day there are events scheduled and partitioned in the Senate, if you take up 24 hours, you backlog the Senate an entire day. I'm not saying the Senate's booked or whatever. These people have easy jobs. I'm just saying, like, it does hold them back quite a bit. Do you have more respect for him after this? Yeah. I look, Cory Booker has never been my favorite politician. He's also, like, far from the worst. I think, like, I've criticized him, especially during the Democratic primary. But he's not, like, he's far from the, you know, far from the worst of them.
I read letters of people that say, don't forget about the people who are disabled who rely on SSI, begging us to remember and speak their names and tell their stories. A lot of fear, a lot of terror, a lot of insecurity. But we spoke about this.
He has crazy eyes, which is why he can't be president. Okay, but I have a counter here, which is that I think that getting more tired is actually making him look more presidential. You know, I think that, like, the crazy eyes are now being complemented by this, like, stooped posture. It's like a stooped posture and, like, a fiery determination that lends character to the crazy eyes beyond just being crazy. You know?
The customer service is going downhill because of the cuts that they're making, and now you're forcing seniors. We read letters from 85.
Thurman had a black daughter he supported throughout his life but never revealed publicly. Dude, that's literally every racist. Never asked the white supremacist the race of their girlfriend/children. That's the most classic shit in the world, dude.
Leeches. They're not people that should be demeaned or degraded by the most powerful people in our land. They are public servants who love their jobs and want to serve seniors, but now
criticizes Horrid's suit. Dude, I'm not gonna lie, I don't give a his suit's not great, but it's also not undersized. And most people's suits these days are horrifically tiny. Like, they shrink fit their suits. So the fact that his has some room for him to move around his arms in, that's, like, good, you know? Can someone replace him when he finally has to give it up? No, he's the one scheduled to do this this speech. Once he yields his time to the floor, they proceed on with the pre-scheduled events.
It just happens. Big organizations can be inefficient. So just because the federal government is the government doesn't mean that Social Security and Medicaid are fraught with fraud in this case, my constituents not even getting his check, and no one is responding. And you would think with all this commotion that Social Security would want to jump right on it and fix it, but they're not. And the question I have for the senator of New Jersey is, in my state, I have, as I said, nearly 1.8 million people who are on Medicaid, and the same problem is now where our colleagues are trying to say they're going to get $880 billion out of the energy and commerce budget of the House of Representatives, when in reality, like 90% of that money is Medicare or Medicaid, and if Medicare is supposedly off the table, then the majority of that is going to come from Medicaid. So in my state, I'm hearing...
So do you have to not drink water the entire previous day? Sure, if you want to, like, die. If you want to punch your ticket early and leave the mortal coil, then yeah, don't drink any water for 24 hours before a 24-hour filibuster. Voosh, is this all for show? You guys are pissing me off a little bit, you know that? Is this not like the first thing you learn about? Like, is this not like one of the first oddities you learn about in American government? Hey, this is like a weird thing, like an archaic thing you can do in the government. You can actually hold up the proceedings of the entire legislature by doing a speech, just you have to never sit down. Like, you have to keep giving the speech no matter what. I swear to God, I learned about this in elementary school. Like, I'm not trying to demean or whatever. It's just a lot of people coming in and trying to outwit the people on screen. It's like, I don't see you up there. You assume every chatter is American? Yeah, well, I mean, for one, I do, because that's 50% of my audience, according to YouTube's, you know, like demographic information, and also because I'm an American and I'm a chauvinist. But also, you know, it's like a lot of people are coming in here awfully presumptuous. Does this do anything? Is this just for show? Dude, it's politics. Everything is for show. What do you mean?
With Medicaid. And we read story after story after story after story of people who are Medicaid beneficiaries, who are terrified, who are afraid, who didn't say if they cut $880 billion, if they diminish the cuts in any way to their services, they're holding together their lives in this fragile financial equilibrium that one little tug of a transportation service, one little tug of a home health care giver, it all crumbles. They're terrified and afraid. Some of the Americans are dealing with the greatest challenges, not of their own making. Some of them working full-time jobs and getting an injury. It costs extraordinary amounts of chaos to their lives. So yes, I read from the people who are recipients.
Yeah, chat wants to shut up a black man. They're tired of hearing him speak. You know what else you would have said was just for show? Rosa Parks. Like, okay, so what? She'd, like, arrange to not get up when asked to? Okay, I don't see what that changes. F you guys. Black power. The Senate's rule on cloture have made people forget what an actual filibuster is. Yeah, it does kind of suck that people use filibuster to refer to both, right? Because this is like the cool one.
You know this, many states, that the funding from the federal government ever dips below 90%, boom, Medicare expansion is over. Millions of people in financial crisis, in healthcare crisis. What is it going to take for us to say no? With such a firm voice, such a chorus of conviction, thousands, hundreds of thousands of Americans, red, white, and...
Can he just stand there and say nothing, just stare into the void? No, if you stop talking, you yield the floor. You need to keep talking, keep standing.
Thank you, and let the record reflect that he said the exact things, same things, probably better things about you, and he was absolutely correct. But I couldn't help but interject.
Could you go up there and just start reading Moby Dick or something? Yes. That's been done before, hasn't it? Like people holding filibusters where they just like read from a book. Green Eggs and Ham. Ted Cruz did it with Dr. Seuss. That'd be about his level, I guess.
Concern is coming through. You can't help it. It's who you are. There's been other moments as you've been talking about some of the key issues and dynamics of this current political climate that we're in, where your passion is coming through, and at times anger. I know it because I've seen it. I know it because we're getting calls in my office about this. I know it because if you monitor comments and commentary on social media about what my colleague is doing here on the Senate floor, some people have asked, Why is he so angry?
I guess there's not really any need to watch all of this. I'm rooting for Cory, okay? I'm rooting for Cory, and you guys better as well.